Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Bylines. I'm your host, Stephen Kister, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Joe Tuman, Collegian sports reporter. How you doing, Joe? Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stephen. I'm excited to be on the pod today.
Yeah, we got some great stuff going on today. Obviously, I want to start with where you're from. You're from, suburb of Philly, like I think a lot of us are. Specifically, Warminster, PA. Good little spot there. Wilmington High School.
Yep.
Talk about that experience growing up in Warminster and going to Wilmington.
Yeah, I don't know. I was always in Warminster. My parents they're actually trying to move now that my sister's about to go to college soon. She'll be a senior in high school next year, and then obviously I'm a senior, not obviously for the listeners, but I'm graduating this semester. But my parents have had the same house my whole life, which was really awesome growing up. So yeah, I always was in Warminster. Like you mentioned, I went to Williamstown High School. So really shaped. I guess my location in a way shaped my interest in sports, just being in the Philly suburbs. I'm a huge Sixers fan, huge Phillies fan, and I'm actually not an Eagles fan because
I was gonna ask that later on. Actually,
I always bring it up. I mean, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan only because as I was like a toddler, and for some reason I like the Packers, so I always stuck with it. But I know the Eagles inside and out too.
Sure.
All my friends are Eagles fans, so love Philly sports. So yeah, I would say that was a big part of. I would say out of anything in my life, that's what my location growing up shaped was my interest in sports. But yeah, I love where I live. I always like going home. A little warmer in the State College too. I went home over spring break and it was like 10 degrees warmer. That was cool.
Yeah, you don't get the wind there either, really.
Exactly. So, yeah. I got nothing good things to say about Bucks County, about Warminster, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So, obviously, big sports guy, went into sports reporting with the Collegian. And obviously, big familiarity with the sports, affiliate sports teams over there. Where do you think, though, that, your ambition to be a sports reporter and kind of get into the journalism side came from?
Yeah, so I think... I don't know. I just always was a huge nerd with the sports. I'd play all the video games. I'd play fantasy football all the time. I'd be watching all the games and all that. And then it's always funny describing this person. So my best friend's dad, but also my cross country coach and also my health teacher. So he has all those roles in my life.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know, he always just talks about. He always said, I went into teaching because I wanted to do what I love.
Sure.
So that kind of rubbed off of me, and I was like, well, I love talking about sports. And I was always a good writer in high school, too. I always did good in English, a lot better than the science classes.
Sure. Hey, me and you both, man.
Yeah.
I was never a science guy.
Keep me away from chem, keep me away from physics, all that stuff.
Don't even get me started.
But, I would say that's kind of where the interest came. Just I always was a big sports fan, was a good writer, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I don't care about what everybody says about, the financial ramifications about that, all that. I was like,
You're not doing it for the money.
Yeah. I'm going to do it because I want to do it, and I want to enjoy my life. So, yeah, I would say that's kind of where I got it from, and I landed in a great spot with the Collegian. Yeah. Been here all 8 semesters of college. So, yeah, I'd say that's kind of how it shaped.
Yeah.
That's how it was shaped, and... Yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that really stood out to me is just how long you've been with the Collegian. I mean, obviously, you said 8 semesters, but, I mean, really, all 4 years you've been with the Collegian.
Yeah.
I mean, starting out as a sports reporter covering basketball, which is actually another thing I want to get into because you reported on Mets basketball in, prime.
No, I didn't.
Well, when they last made the NCAA tournament.
No, I didn't.
No?
I was on the hockey beat that year. But they made the NCAA tournament.
Okay,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
No, I've only covered the Mike Rhodes teams. My sophomore year, I covered the hockey team. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If anyone follows me on Twitter, but my culture rankings, that comes from Guy Godowski, men's hockey coach, always talking about the team culture. That kind of gave me the idea for that bit that I continue to stay on the path with because I just love doing that every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved covering that team, getting to go to the NCAA tournament. And Penn State basketball did not go to the NCAA tournament this year. Not even close.
No. This year was terrible.
But nonetheless, I really enjoyed covering that team for 2 years as well. Because I love basketball. It's my favorite sport. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and actually with that in mind, I mean, what is it like? I've always wondered from someone. I mean, I'm a big sports guy myself, but I always stuck towards the news side of things. But what was it like covering those different sports that maybe like you didn't have as much familiarity with? Obviously,
sure.
big basketball guy. But then I also did hockey and volleyball. So like, what was that experience like?
I did softball. Softball my freshman year. Yeah, that was interesting. I've become a big baseball fan over the past couple of years, but I would say in high school I wasn't. And the Phillies were getting good around that time, but also getting to cover softball was another way I kind of got into the baseball, softball side of things. I got familiar with that sport, like learning the stats and all that. Like now I know like where to go on Baseball Reference if I want to look at like stuff with the Phillies. But honestly, a big part of that was covering the softball team. Like I found out about different like stats and different things to look for. I would say that from what I remember, the biggest, I mean, it was a new experience because I was a freshman, just getting thrown on a beat with a team that I didn't know much about. So yeah, I think it was just a lot of like, before I started for the first time, just like doing the research about the team beforehand, kind of just building preparation. And then in the moment, just kind of being not afraid to, and that's a smaller beat, so not as many reporters, not like your own football and basketball there. So not being afraid to speak up and ask a question in the post game media, and even more so with hockey. There was more people with hockey, so not a huge crowd, but still probably 10, 12 people. So definitely want to speak up, get put myself in a situation that maybe initially I wasn't totally comfortable doing, but by just continuing to do it, get comfortable doing that job, and it really helped me build my confidence as a journalist and just start to, not care if, will the coach think this is a dumb question? Will I word this correctly? Like, you just got to not worry about that stuff and just trust your instincts, trust your research, trust what you watched by just being there. So yeah, it's all a learning experience. And, hockey to this day, like I enjoy watching hockey. I think it's fun. The goals are exciting, but I'll admit, like, even that year when I covered the hockey team, sometimes I was just like, going back and forth watching them go up and down the ice, and I still to this day don't really understand every nuance of hockey, but I think that's why I loved covering Guy Godowski, because he would spell it out for me. He'd always have such thought out answers for the media. He was always a fun coach to cover, because I would say like a big part of why I was able to like figure out or in the early going of the season like what was going on was honestly because I had such a what's a good word for it? Like, I don't know. He's just a good speaker. I would say
like a good mentor.
Yeah, not mentor, but like a good just
I
someone.
know what you're saying.
Yeah, someone who could. I know you get what I'm saying. Yeah, just someone who was easy to understand. Yeah. He kind of was like thoughtful in his
guy
answers.
Can introduce you to the sport, kind of.
For sure. Yeah.
And obviously moving on from you start off sports reporting, then eventually became digital staff, and then also social staff, and now social media editor, which is where you are now. But the thing I did want to actually touch on is your time with Fansided.
Oh yeah.
And because I was going to ask what the Green Bay Packers connection was there. I don't know if you were a Packers fan, but obviously now I know that you are. What was that like?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I don't. I'll say it. I don't care. I really enjoyed writing for them. It was just something to do in my free time, kind of write about a team I was passionate about. And make a little money on the side. But also I really loved like some of those things I wrote there. Like it's different because it's not like hard hitting reporting as much as like opinionated stuff or opinionated stuff based in facts. But I enjoyed it. It's interesting because it's a virtual thing.
Like I didn't a little more blog style.
Yeah, I didn't really have a personal relationship with anyone I worked with there. It was kind of just like I sent it to people, they posted. But I liked writing it. What were some things I wrote? I remember I wrote like a kind of a column of sorts of like the next 5 Packers players who should be in the Hall of Fame. And then this year Sterling Sharp actually got in the Hall of Fame. Not that I'm the only one who was saying that, but it was pretty cool. Like, I wrote about that, now it actually happened.
Yeah.
So stuff like that was cool. I ended there because I just had a lot of responsibilities at college. And I think it was I was supposed to bring in an article once. They gave me a pretty flexible stuff. Like you had to bring in once a month, one article at least a month. And then I think I went like 2 months without bringing one in. And then one day I went to log in and I was just booted. I was just out. I didn't even get an email. And I was like, I guess I don't work for Fansided anymore. But that's okay because I did a lot of other awesome stuff instead with the
Sure.
Collegian, with some internships I did. So
Yeah.
definitely not upset with where I put my time, but unfortunate that I got booted from the
Yeah,
server.
hey, it happens to the best of us. But yeah, I mean, to your point, you've had other opportunities since then. I mean, you served as a sports reporter at the Center County Gazette.
I did, yeah.
That's pretty sick. And then also you have from what I understand, it's still going. You can correct me, of course, if I'm wrong. Show with Com Radio called The Deal Zone.
Yeah, I did for
Yeah.
4 semesters. Chris, my good friend, my co-host, is now doing the Disney college
heard about
program,
that.
so
Yeah.
he is not here this semester. So we
Yeah.
aren't doing it this semester.
Okay.
But up until this semester, yeah. But last fall we wrapped up the show. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Did that for, did we do 4 or 5 semesters? We did 5 semesters. Yeah.
Okay.
Sophomore year, junior year, and then this past fall. Yeah.
Nice. That's
a lot of
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then that's another thing too. I mean, just showing your versatility there. I mean, NBA, NFL, MLB, and of course writing articles for Com Radio as well. But actually, speaking of one of your articles, one of the ones I wanted to touch on was actually, I think it was an article you did probably pretty early on.
Okay.
Was talking to Collegian sports staff alumni.
Oh yes, that was a lot
Yeah.
of fun. Yeah.
Talk about that experience. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So the little backstory behind that, it was around the time the Collegian got its funding cut. So
Yes.
that was kind of a
that great day.
motivation
Sure.
for the story. Was kind of just to kind of from a sports staff angle, just kind of show like what the importance of the Collegian is and why it's, careers that it's helped shape. And the experiences it gives student journalists to kind of translate into, once they're out of college and
Yeah.
can go into their careers. It's him, just a lot of different awesome people I got to talk to. Audrey Snyder covers Penn State for, I believe, The Athletic, Penn State football. Also a Green Bay Packers fan I found out during that interview. So
Yeah,
that
there
was
you
cool.
go.
That was some
Yeah.
some overlap we had there. Ryan Jones, who I think his position is like editor or managing editor of the Penn Stater, where he talks to a lot of alumni.
Yes.
So he was a cool person I got to meet and talk to for that story. And then some more recent Collegian grads like Andrew Destin, who covers the Penguins and the Pirates for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Brooks Dake, who works at ESPN now. So those are some recent Collegian grads who I actually knew a little bit from my freshman year when they were seniors. So I got to talk to them as well, catch up with them. Yeah, it was an awesome story. It's definitely one of my favorite ones I've done, just because it's a unique angle, but it has a lot of different people's stories in it. And it was fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of my favorite stories have definitely been the ones that are just been purely story based. Just on personalities and stuff like that. That's why I do the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so yeah, no, that's awesome. And so the other thing I want to talk on here is kind of like your journey to becoming one of 2 social editors for the Collegian. Obviously, you start out as a sports reporter, but then how did that kind of come to be with just getting into the editing side of things?
Yeah, so I would say a big part of what I try to do, I mean, you mentioned Com Radio, you mentioned, some of the other things I do. I try to be versatile. And I think a big part of, journalism now is the social media side of things, promoting your work, getting it out there for people to see and care about, especially people our age, they get their news online.
Yeah.
So I took an interest very early on in as I'm covering hockey, and I'm I want people to see my work. So I took an interest in kind of just learning how to promote my work, learning how to reach people. Started doing some TikTok content about the NBA in my free time, but then I joined the Collegian social staff sophomore year, learned how to start writing promos and stuff like that on Twitter and Facebook. And then junior year, there was more video editing and being on camera and stuff opportunities that Alex and Brendan kind of, and Luke as well, kind of put together and made available, kind of made an expectation to do at the Collegian. So more opportunities kind of rose in the social staff area. And yeah, across the board, it just gave me more exposure to different aspects of the social staff. And I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things like that I thought we could improve upon or expand upon that we were already doing. So it made me want to apply for the social media editor position.
Yeah.
And I was really excited when I got picked. And I've been doing it pretty much coming up on a year now. It's been a really fun year. I was really excited that Top 3 let me continue covering basketball as well as being the social editor. I think I appreciated the trust they showed in me to let me do that. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've loved to see the growth of our staff. I've loved to see just like all the new content, all the new types of content we've been able to put out this year. People that, you know, kind of, now we have people join the Collegian just to work on social media, and I think that's awesome. So yeah, I'm really proud of the work we've done. Make sure to go follow all our social media accounts if you're not already.
Plug, man.
Of course. Just hit 20K on Instagram, which I was so excited about. So I think it's just given me it's given me leadership experience, which you know, I hadn't really had up to this point in college. So it's been fun working with everybody, seeing everybody's faces every week at the meetings, things like that, but also just kind of challenged me to do something different, do something outside the box, because, you know, a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with it, but a lot of people just kind of stick to sports and just make that their thing. But I was excited to kind of get to do multiple things this senior year, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really grateful for it. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. And actually, something I did want to bring up as well that you kind of touched on, I mean, the growth that the Collegian socials have had in your term, if you will, it's been pretty impressive. I mean, 14% increase in number of posts on Instagram and 229% increase in audience reach on the app. Pretty insane stuff there. I mean, obviously, you know, you made it a point to get there, but, you know, why was that so important? I mean, obviously you said that, you know, we're going towards the social media age, especially in news and stuff like that, but for the Collegian, why is that so important?
Oh, yeah, I think just reaching the students is something we are going to have to continue to build upon, but I think we've done a really good job of, like, we have a really committed alumni base of people that love reading the Collegian, love reading the paper even still sometimes, but people on Facebook, people on Twitter. But I think that TikTok and Instagram realm is where, you know, people our age, college students, even people younger than college students are, and just trying to reach that demographic to show people all the great work our reporters are doing. So it's stuff like consistently posting those Instagram graphics you might see if you go to our Instagram, like taking a story from our site and here's like 4 slides kind of previewing the story, and it kind of says like, okay, if you want to read the whole story, go to our website, like stuff like that, and just getting people's eyes on our stories in different areas, or you know, the reels and the TikTok videos we do, just getting people to see kind of the personality that some of our staff has, and just, you know, we're not just people typing here. We're real people too. We you know, we're part of the Penn State community just as much as everybody. So, I think that was kind of my vision for it. I didn't know about I knew we've grown, but it wasn't really my intention. Like, that wasn't the reason I took the position. I definitely wanted us to grow, but it was less about, you know, I hope we hit this landmark, and more about the numbers. More about like reaching the community was kind of what I wanted, and I think that mindset and the buy-in that my awesome staff has had, because I mean, I organize it, but they execute it. Like, I can't do it without them. So I think that buy-in to that like mindset is what allowed us to grow so much, and I think it's paid off for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, of course, I think many people and many of our readers, you know the Collegian has a newspaper, but it's been awesome to see the sort of transition from, you know, being just a newspaper maybe to being more of a social media presence and being a source that it's not only in paper, but it's also online, and we have podcasts, and so it's been great to see that for sure.
Yeah.
But so I want to talk a little bit about your future here.
Oh no. So does my parents.
Oh, hey, I'm right there with you, man. But no, I mean, obviously you have the leadership skills, you have the social media skills, you have the editing skills, and you have the writing skills. What are you kind of looking for in the future?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I would say my dream is still like to be a beat reporter for an NBA team, and maybe even I'd be okay with that, but he maybe even getting to be someone who like covers the league at a national level, like not even just one team. But I'd say for now, like a goal of mine in the next, I don't know, X amount of years, we'll see how long it takes me to get there. But I would love to cover an NBA team just the way I covered men's basketball, but for the Collegian, but at a larger scale. And I think the skills I've amassed, like the podcasting skills, the social media skills, and obviously my writing background, my leadership skills I picked up this year, I think, you know, not to you know, talk myself up, but I think that's like that's kind of like my message to jobs that I
Yeah.
applied to is like I think, all these things, all of this versatility, all my versatility makes me a good fit to do that job. But also I'd be open, and I'm definitely applying to these jobs because I want a job. I would be open to continuing to work in social media as well. But I think, like, as I mentioned earlier,
Yep.
I came to Penn State because I wanted to learn to be a sports journalist. That's what I
Yeah.
was super passionate about. And I think my social media background enhances my journalistic abilities because, like, as I mentioned, like,
Yeah.
the news is going digital.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge part of it. So I think that's where my passion kind of still lies, is being a reporter, but kind of taking all, like I said, all the skills I've gotten to develop while I'm at Penn State.
Absolutely. And something I've kind of made a tradition here to kind of end with.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boring question personally, but what would you tell a freshman coming into Penn State?
Yeah. I would say, just from my biased perspective, just like of what my experience was like, just follow, do something you're passionate about. Find something you love doing, whether it's because of the work, whether it's because of the people, whether it's because of both. Like, whatever motivates you to get up in the morning and spend your time and, get something. If you get something out of it, just look for those places. Look for those people that allow you to get the most out of your days, like make you want to wake up in the morning, things like that. That's what I would say, because, as you mentioned, I've been at the Collegian for 4 years, and it's because I've met so many awesome people that have, taught me so many things. I've met so many great friends. I've had so many awesome experiences. Com Radio as well. They've got a great group of people. I'm not as involved with Com Radio, but as the Collegian, but another great group. And that's for com students, but just across the board, like whatever your major is, whatever your interests are, whatever, group of people you wind up gelling with, anything like that. I would say just try to find the work or find the commitments that don't feel like they're a commitment or a drag on you. It's something
Sure.
you look forward to going to do. I remember sophomore year, we'd sit at that Willard table for hours and hours, even
Sure.
though, like, yeah, this is the office.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it's where we, like, hang out and have fun. So, I guess that would be my advice.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. I love the way you put that. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining. Had a great time talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steven.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Catch up next week. Our next host, or next guest, I should say, will be announced soon. So, see you guys next Monday. Thank you so much, you guys.